Welcome to London. I'm here to explore how new technology is enabling the next revolution in design. From 3D printing to artificial intelligence to automation, I'm seeing how new tools can unleash our imagination.
What if our partner in crime was an AI agent or AI tools, data sets?
To rethink the products we make, how we make them, and what that means for our lives.
These are 3D printed, made to measure, driven by data points on your face to make something more comfortable, so hopefully you keep them for longer.
So again, this is design based on parameters that you set that gets generated by a computer.
And has user input.
I'm Tom Goodwin, a writer and speaker about technology and the changing world, and I'm here to meet pioneers challenging conventions and exploring the boundaries at the edge of design. England was home to the Industrial Revolution. In the span of less than 100 years, the world went from making things by hand and for individuals to mass production and standardization. Now, armed with an array of new developments, we have the potential to democratize design, to once again personalize what we make, and most exciting of all, to make entirely new products.
At Layer, we're designing a big range of products: modular dividers, eyewear, furniture, smart wearables, backpacks and apparel.
Benjamin Hubert is the founder and creative director of Layer. His design studio combines the latest technologies and innovative materials with human-centered design. Coming in, it's just incredibly inspiring to see this wall of materials here, lots of which look quite space age. So what role does materials or new materials take in the design process?
Materials are super important for us, whether it's the simplest crafted material or the most advanced technological one. For instance, something like this is made from a pressed hemp material, and hemp is like the poster boy for sustainability, but it has its qualities and it is really great from how much energy is used to produce it. But equally, we might look at something here that is 3D printed and 3D printed from plastic, but there's no waste when this is produced. So it's not being produced in China, then being shipped back across the world. This is a really interesting rubberized 3D print that's made just down the road. So that's another way to think about layering sustainability. It's not just the end product or the end commodity, it's really the journey to get there.
3D printing has long been touted as the future of both design and production. The idea that anyone can produce anything locally has potentially profound impacts on the global supply chain. We could, in theory, download designs and print our clothes or even our homes at home. But so far, widespread use of 3D printing has been hampered by limitations on what can actually be made and high costs. How do you use 3D printing in the design process?
We 3D print scale and one-to-one models to look at the form and format of, for instance, a wheelchair. But also, we often use it in the manufacturing process. So the Go wheelchair is a wheelchair that uses a 3D printed seat, which is custom made for every single user. They get their body cast and scanned, and then that algorithm, driven by the data points on there, creates a bespoke seat, improving comfort and performance.
And what does design become? Because in a way, there's maths involved with generating the final design based on these hexagons or pentagons.
Absolutely. So it's algorithm-driven data points. So the data points from here, when it's 3D scanned, are fed into the piece of software. So this uses a Grasshopper-based piece of software that then generatively develops the right amount of hexagons in the right space on the right surface area to create the custom seat.
Is it almost a metaphor for what the future of design could be, where some parts are systematized, some parts are personalized, some parts are parametric?
I do think we're moving into an era where to sort of democratizing the process through technology is becoming possible. So the agenda of one designer creating the singular expression of their point of view becomes a little bit less relevant, where we're pulling in what does everyone else think in a very kind of ethnographic, user-focused way, but also how can technology help us to design without having to predefine absolutely everything.
To what extent do you think you have a kind of responsibility in a way to make technology which is additive rather than something that replaces humanity?
It's a very good point. And I think humanizing technology, softening it to the extent where it blends in and disappears into your world rather than being the primary focal point all the time is the big shift in the last 5 to 10 years. It's not necessarily a status symbol in its own right anymore. The days of having a ginormous B&O system on your wall that said, I've got status, I've got wealth, I think are a slightly old-fashioned way of looking at it. And I think now we need to look at the value of a service, how much it provides a benefit, and not necessarily just inherently the status of the object itself.
I love the contrast between materials and craft at Layer and their push towards making products where the user is at the center of the design. Perhaps this approach will make more practical, long-lasting products, reducing our throwaway culture. But can this user-focused approach work in other areas of design? And what are we looking at exactly?
A pavilion that was designed by local community members. It is made of a discrete building system called block type A, and it's the same building piece that's used for every single part of the pavilion.
So there's just one type of piece that's reused again and again and again?
One type of piece, and it is like Lego for buildings.
Mollie Claypool is an academic turned practitioner working at the intersection of design, technology, and community. She is developing a modular building system and digital design tools which can be used by local communities to create the spaces and homes they need. The future of design always seems to be about 3D printing or prefabrication or new materials, but yet this looks so different.
I think if you give people the opportunity to be creative, you'll be surprised with what is done with the tools that are available to them. And so giving people that opportunity to have some agency over what they make and what's being created for them and by them is really, really important. I think it enables people to explore parts of themselves that they didn't know that they could have access to, and begins to unlock a deeper set of knowledge around who they are and what community that they're in and how they might relate to it when they start to design objects that are really for them, by them.
What do you think about the role between design and technology and creativity?
Technologies that are changing design include things like AI, machine learning, things that aren't as tangible to people because they aren't objects, but they're actually processes and things that are based on data, which is oftentimes hidden behind the products that we're using or the products that we're interacting with.
As we saw with many of the products at Layer, a key to modern design is the drive towards sustainability. The idea of a circular economy is a model which involves sharing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling materials and products as long as possible.
The system is designed to be circular. It's very easy to assemble together and connect together the blocks, and it's very easy to disassemble them. So the idea is that you can change whatever you've designed over time. It's this core idea of like truly adaptive architecture and truly adaptive spaces.
When you look at industries that have been transformed by automation, or even any other ways that the industry has changed, something like construction and design seems to have hardly changed at all. Why is that?
Design in terms of the tools that we use has changed dramatically, but the way we make things is still very much based within the thinking of the Industrial Revolution. A lot of the reason behind this is because there's cultures within those disciplines that are inherited. And that's not to say that that's bad, that inheritance is bad. It just needs to be a little bit transformed to be more open to change.
Being open to change is hard, though, when new technologies bring with them so much fear and doubt. One of the technologies playing a huge role in design is artificial intelligence, but many people are still suspicious about its use and possibilities.
I think design has always been an iterative process. The question is who we are collaborating with. Can we imagine collaborating with artificial intelligence?
Anab is a designer, futurist, filmmaker, and educator. A rare combination of someone able to understand new technologies, but with the imagination to see how they can be used. So how do you think artificial intelligence will change design?
I think what design can do is show how AI can actually become our collaborator, and how, as designers, we can use artificial intelligence and its capacity to pull out information from millions of data sets and team that with our own imagination and our intuitive capacities together to create new ideas and new possibilities, which we couldn't do otherwise. So I see a lot of really exciting potential there.
So in your work, what kind of future behaviors are you starting to foresee?
One key behavior we're starting to foresee is people's real desire to take part in the climate action. So are we designing systems that are regenerative in nature? Are we designing systems and products that are circular in nature so that you're not adding to the waste? We designed an entire apartment set in 2050 or so that has been altered because of climate crisis. In this apartment, we designed fully working food computers that were built entirely from discarded and waste materials to create a self-sufficient food system indoors that provides food for the inhabitants. Not all the food, but a percentage of the food, in an ambition to move towards self-reliance. As a designer, I see my role in not just showing what the technology or what the product could do, but what it would mean to live with it, actually.
So what do you think the future of design looks like?
We are built on the 20th century model of the Industrial Revolution. So design has been very closely linked with the idea of developing products that go out into the marketplace that people consume and then throw away. Now we are in the position where we can't afford to do that anymore. Designers need to do a lot of unlearning and then relearning new tools through which we can design ideas, products, services that are not based around the 20th century model of consumption and consumerism, but are pointing the way towards a more regenerative, circular, inclusive future.
Technologies like AI and 3D printing are changing the core principles of both production and design. Here in the UK, I've met some of the people spearheading these changes. I've seen how technology can work alongside these designers to make better, more individualized products. And I've seen how it can help them take on the main challenge of our time, more sustainable design that protects our planet.